I know that I can't keep up with everything in the news right now. It's just such an overwhelming quantity. We would spend all of our time sitting and reading news stories and doing nothing else. So we've got to pick and choose a little bit. I know I tend to spend an awful lot of far too much time reading stories that I don't actually get around to covering. I read about them, I make copious notes, I think about and map out how they connect to other stories or other really important concepts, and I just run out of time. I need a staff. I need more people than just the one part-time assistant I have that can help me off and on. I try to be really conscientious in what I cover. Sometimes I don't cover stories that I know will get mad numbers of views and I'll make a lot of money off of them because I just don't have the heart to talk about it, or because I feel that there are more pressing things that should be covered that are not getting enough attention. I don't really choose what to talk about based on whether or not I think it will go viral or whether or not I will, earn a lot off of it. I talk about things that I think are really meaningful and important to cover. And even then, I don't get around to covering everything I would like to. And in that spirit, I wish I could cover more of what ICE is doing, more ICE raid videos, more of the human rights and constitutional rights violations, because I think it's so important that we continue to bear witness, we continue to document. I think there is nothing more central than understanding that what ICE is doing to our immigrants, they want to do to everybody. The way that we combat fascism is that we must defend the most vulnerable. And so I think the core of our resistance and the core of addressing what's happening and helping our country dig out from this starts and ends with ICE. Yes, we can talk about the eugenics of RFK Jr. We can talk about the corruption, the grift. We can talk about the late stage capitalism and the oligarchy. We could talk about all of that, but all of those other issues, they tie in to what is happening to our immigrants because of ICE. It's all connected to the ethnic cleansing that the Trump regime is carrying out against immigrants. And I'm sorry that I'm not able to cover more of what's happening. It feels very overwhelming trying to sift through and be like, what footage is worth showing? It's all worth showing. These are real human beings' lives. Their rights are being violated. Families are being devastated. Every story is worth telling. And every person who is being harmed by ICE deserves justice. And I haven't yet figured out how to better cover. I just try and pick some of the stories every week and talk about them. And so understanding that context, I want to point you to a piece that came out in the New York Times a couple of days ago. It's entitled "How Turn and Burn Immigration Operations Unleash Chaos and Sweep Up U.S. Citizens." It's a video essay. It is absolutely worth going and watching. It's not behind a paywall on the New York Times website. They discuss all kinds of footage in California of these ICE raids. And the composite picture of all of these together is just understanding that this is just a tiny fraction. But even bringing all of these stories together is very overwhelming. I want to show you one clip of one story that they talk about and then explain a little bit more.
Veering into his lane and cutting him off.
There's no signal, no anything. And I just thought like regular LA drivers.
But then the SUV suddenly stops in a busy lane of traffic and the back door flies open. The impact sends Edgardo's side mirror flying through his window.
What's that, bro? What the fuck?
No one in the SUV appears to acknowledge the collision.
Oh, God.
Two men in ballistic vests scramble out to the drying area.
United States Border Patrol. Huh? United States Border Patrol. Yes. Are you a United States citizen? I'm a United States citizen.
Other agents who hang back to dislodge their car door ignore Edgardo.
I see that this is like a suspected ICE raid. Like, I'm still not going to leave without insurance because that could be like still the hit and run on me. And then I also have my car messed up.
For nearly 2 minutes, Edgardo, who seems free to leave, snaps photos and pleads for insurance. But then, after taking down a passerby who flees into traffic, agents abruptly turn their sights on Edgardo.
I'm just confused. What's going on?
Or customers are detained. Bovino's turn and burn playbook appears to be backfiring.
Guys, don't got nothing else to do.
Once agents move Edgardo into their vehicle, it appears they're planning to leave. But apparently, there's uncertainty about what to do with him, according to audio from his dash camera. Instead of getting on the road, agents sit in this Tahoe with Edgardo in front of the car wash for nearly an hour.
Show your face.
I got family.
You got family too. We're out here.
It's not clear what they're waiting for,
Show your face.
but Edgardo says agents are making calls requesting help from local law enforcement. As the crowd grows and tensions rise.
Get out of here.
They're saying that this would have never happened if I would have just been on my way, but I was being on my way. I was just trying to go to work.
I really encourage you to go watch the full clip from the New York Times because there's a lot more there. But I wanted to highlight this story in particular because this is a U.S. citizen who was minding his own business and ICE threw their door into his car. And he stopped because he was afraid if he just kept going that they would claim he committed a hit and run. Because you know what? We've seen that already so far this year. Right, that happened in Chicago earlier this year. ICE slammed into a woman, falsely claimed she hit them. They dragged her out of her car, kicking and screaming. They abducted her, and she spent many hours in ICE custody, unable to access an attorney. No charges were ever filed against her. So totally understandable that this young man was afraid to leave. And also ICE should be paying. They hit him. Everything that ICE is doing to our immigrants is cruel and terrible and inhumane and awful. But I think for too many Americans, we still see and hear this rhetoric of well, they shouldn't have been in the country illegally. No nuance, no understanding of how many of these folks are here going through the legal asylum process or the legal green card process, which can take years and years. Also, just no understanding of what the law is around immigration at all, how being undocumented in this country is not a crime, it's a civil offense. And I know I've gotten people in my comments who are like, why is it that you point out that some of these people are U.S. citizens? It's not because I think that immigrants should have their rights trampled on more easily than American citizens. It's because so many conservatives still believe that everything ICE is doing is only happening to non-U.S. citizens. But over and over and over again, it is being done to American citizens because what this regime does to immigrants, they want to be empowered and enabled to do to all of us. I also wanted to highlight this video because you can see so clearly from this case how ICE has they're not trained at all, right? They hired all of the January 6ers, all of the Proud Boys who are just there because they want to wallop on immigrants, right? They hired those guys early on and they're scrambling. They can't make their recruitment numbers. They lowered the recruiting age to 17. They raised the recruiting age. I think it's over 50 now because they couldn't get qualified people to want to come and work for ICE. Anybody who is worth hiring has already applied to work for places like the FBI or they've gone into a legitimate branch of the military. What you have are these chuddies who are completely untrained. Now, there's reports that some of them are like bounty hunters, basically, that are just hired and may potentially get a per head fee for every person that they abduct. They are incentivized to abduct people, whether or not anything illegal has occurred. And they wouldn't fucking know if anything had because all these guys are doing is running around without warrants, without any authority whatsoever, snatching people off the streets, out of their workplaces, out of schools, out of hospitals. And these men who are doing this kind of work, they're not trained at all. They're completely unqualified. So they step into these situations where they don't know what they're doing. They have no experience. They have not gamed it out. They've not been trained in any way, and that makes them very prone to panicking. We have no information about the transparency of the hiring process for these ICE agents and whether or not they have managed to meet an appropriate psychological profile, whether they can handle the stress. They definitely have no training at all. And they're given weapons. They're given carte blanche to violate the law and do whatever they want, to brutalize the bodies of other people and deprive them of their liberty. And in this clip right here, I thought it was really, really obvious how these guys are really panicky. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what the proper procedures are. They stuffed an American citizen in the back of their car they didn't know what to do. So they're like, shit, we'll just keep him here and we'll call the local authorities. A whole gaggle of these bros all together. They don't know how to do anything other than brutalize people, other than inflict terror. They are not legitimate law enforcement. I don't know if your MAGA friends and family would be willing to watch this clip from the New York Times, but I think it's very compelling. I think it really helps demonstrate how out of control ICE is and what they're doing to American citizens.